Ever feel like the digital world is just constantly throwing these new complex challenges at us, especially, with cybersecurity. One minute things seem fine, the next, bam, there's news of some massive cyber espionage thing that seems to touch everything. Today, we're doing a deep dive into, well, one of the most significant cybersecurity incidents we've seen this year, honestly. It's a sprawling campaign that exploited a really critical zero-day vulnerability in Microsoft SharePoint. So our mission today is to unpack the core facts, really get a handle on the staggering scale of the impact, and figure out what this means for you, for organizations, and frankly, for global security. And I mean, when you hear that this affected nearly 400 organizations, get this, including a nuclear weapons agency, it just shows how high the stakes really are.
It really does. It's an incident that kind of peels back the layers, Shows how one single unpatched flaw can just ripple outwards, way beyond what most people probably imagine. We're not just talking about stolen data here. This potentially shifts national security landscapes, and it hits the trust we put in our digital systems.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this then. We're talking about something cybersecurity experts are calling, and I quote, one of the most extensive cyber espionage campaigns of the year. And it all hinged on hackers using this zero-day flaw in Microsoft SharePoint. This wasn't just some minor bug, was it?
Oh, not at all. A zero-day, well, it's particularly nasty because it means the vendor, right, Microsoft in this case, had exactly 0 days warning. They didn't know about the flaw until attackers were already actively using it out there. It's kind of like finding a huge crack in your house's foundation only after someone's already climbed through it.
Wow, okay. That's a stark way to put it. So if it was unknown, how was it even found? Who spotted this?
So the detection came from researchers at a Dutch firm, iSecurity. They did it by tracing these really faint digital fingerprints, little bits of evidence left behind on the SharePoint servers that got hit.
Digital fingerprints, okay. And once the attackers were using this flaw, what were they actually doing? Our sources say, unauthorized access, stealing data, installing backdoors, and this crucial part, persistence. Even after some patches went out, that persistence thing you mentioned sounds, well, really chilling. Does that mean even if companies tried to clean up, they might still be compromised, like playing catch-up for 8
Precisely, yeah, that persistence capability. Yeah. That's what elevates it from a quick break-in to potentially long-term spying.
Sure.
Or worse, even if you patch the original hole or, try to fix the immediate breach, the attackers might have already set up other ways back in. Hidden routes. It means they could potentially return whenever they want, grab more data, maybe launch other attacks from inside the network. Makes getting completely clean incredibly hard. Very resource intensive. It's like digital hide and seek, but the seeker doesn't even know all the hiding spots exist.
Wow. Okay. So the scale then. It started looking bad, but then it got worse, right? iSecurity initially flagged, about 100 organizations? But then follow-up scans pushed that to nearly 400 confirmed breaches. And what really gets me is the warning from iSecurity's lead analyst, Vaisha Bernard. She said the real number may be much higher because, and this is key, not all attack methods leave traces we can detect. That sounds like we might only be seeing the tip of the iceberg.
It absolutely could be. And if you zoom out a bit, look at who was hit. It's truly global, incredibly diverse. iSecurity's scan alone looked at over 8,000 servers exposed to the internet worldwide. And the victims. They're in government, finance, healthcare, manufacturing, education, all over the map. And you have to think about the connections, right? A healthcare breach could affect financial stability through billing data. A manufacturing shutdown hits supply chains. It shows how interconnected everything is. A breach anywhere can, sort of, echo everywhere.
And then there's the headline grabber, the most alarming detail maybe. One of the confirmed victims was a nuclear weapons agency. I mean, when you hear that, it stops being just about data theft, doesn't it? It's suddenly this stark reminder of global national security concerns. It affects your sense of safety, our collective geopolitical stability. Let's dive just a bit into the tech side if we can. The attackers used specific vulnerabilities. CVE 2025-5377 and CVE 2025-53771. And these gave them apparently full control of servers that weren't patched.
Yeah, full control. In simple terms, it's pretty much total ownership. Imagine someone doesn't just have a key to your house. They have the master key. They can change the locks, put up hidden cameras, read all your mail, maybe even pretend to be you. That's the kind of access level we're talking about on those servers. Complete compromise.
Okay, total compromise. So given how bad that sounds, how quick was the reaction from Microsoft, from security agencies?
Actually, the response was notably swift. Microsoft got an emergency security patch out very quickly. They also put out strong warnings, strong advisories for everyone using SharePoint, especially if they had on-premise setups or older systems. And here in the U.S., CISA, that's the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, they acted fast too. They added this exploit to their known exploited vulnerabilities list, the KEV list. And they ordered federal agencies mandatory patch by July 21st. That kind of immediate mandatory order for federal systems, it really highlights how seriously they viewed this threat.
Right, mandatory patches for government. Yet, despite all that speed and the clear warnings, the problem seems to be that many servers remain unpatched. And the reasons cited are slow rollout and relying on outdated infrastructure. It makes you wonder, why is patching still such a huge hurdle for big organizations, even when the warnings are this loud?
Well, it's this fundamental challenge, sometimes called the patching paradox. It sounds simple, just updates, right?
Yeah.
But it's often not. Think about large companies. They run these incredibly complex systems, often built up over years, maybe decades. Lots of legacy stuff, all interconnected in ways that aren't always obvious. Applying a single patch, even an emergency one, carries risk. It could inadvertently break something else, cause system outages, cost a fortune in downtime. So there's this constant tension between the risk of the vulnerability and the risk of the fix itself. It can lead to delays, which is exactly why experts are now saying, look, if you can't patch immediately, you should seriously think about isolating those vulnerable servers. Take them offline until you can update safely.
Isolate them. Okay, so putting all these pieces together,
Right.
What does this tell us about the why? The motives. Researchers haven't pointed fingers publicly, haven't named the actor, but they did note the coordinated nature, and the specific sectors targeted strongly suggest high-level cyber espionage.
I'd agree. When you consider the range of targets, government, critical infrastructure, and yes, that nuclear agency, it points towards something bigger, a geopolitical motive. This likely wasn't just about money. It smells like intelligence gathering, trying to gain strategic advantage, maybe even positioning for future disruption. What could intelligence from one sector reveal that helps compromise another, seemingly unrelated one later on? That's the strategic game here.
It really underscores this ongoing lesson, doesn't it? The constant rising risk tied to enterprise software that isn't patched. It's this endless cat and mouse game. Microsoft puts out regular patches, but for various reasons, sometimes very understandable ones, organizations delay. And that delay creates the window.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the impact goes way beyond just data. Breaches like this hit national security, economic stability, potentially on a global scale. It's a potent reminder. Digital vulnerabilities have very real, tangible consequences out here in the physical world. Affects everything from your personal data privacy to, well, the stability of nations.
So just to recap quickly, a single critical zero-day flaw in widely used software, Microsoft SharePoint. It triggered one of the biggest cyber espionage campaigns this year, hit almost 400 confirmed organizations, alarmingly including a nuclear weapons agency. It really drives home the huge real-world risks of these vulnerabilities and the dangers of delayed patching everything from data theft right up to national security.
And maybe the final thought for you listening is this. When an emergency patch comes out and governments mandate immediate updates for their own systems because the threat is so severe, what level of responsibility do all organizations have to protect your data with that same urgency? And beyond that, how can we all as individuals help raise awareness about digital security in a world where these critical flaws are actively hunted, and even the act of fixing them is complex and risky? Something to think about.